Hi, good evening. My name is Angel Lau, and I am the co-president of the PTIA. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Before we get started, at the last meeting, I kind of choked and I got a little nervous, and I really like to introduce my executive board. We have Steve Bruton, who is my co-president, and all good things from Google come from Steve. Our vice president is Rania Spieb, who's also in charge. She's the co-chair for teacher grants. Our past president is Sue Tang, who just about runs everything from behind the scenes. We have our co-secretaries, Janet Raymond and Christian Von Berthel. And then we have our treasurer, Dawn Jensen. I'm so grateful to have this group. We absolutely work so well together as a team, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So I'm hoping that by introducing them, you'll introduce yourself when we have an opportunity. You'll get to know us, and hopefully we'll be working together soon. So welcome. Today's meeting agenda, we're going to meet Mr. Leonard Sanford. He is the Director of Health and Wellness for Bloomfield Hills. Just have a quick little introduction and maybe take a couple Q&A in the chat. Then we're going to move into updates for the PTIA and events. We'll have a quick treasurer report, a quick teacher grant report for our round 2, and then Ms. Juco is going to do an IB lesson 101, which is fantastic. So at this time, Mr. Sanford, would you like to take over?
Sure, yes. Thank you so much, Angel, and thank you for inviting me to this wonderful meeting. Good evening, everybody. As Angel said, my name is Leonard Sanford Jr. I am the Bloomfield Hills Schools Director of Health and Wellness, a brand new position that we created, well, that the district created this year in response to COVID. So a little bit about me. Although I'm a BHS employee now, I am a lifelong West Bloomfield School District product. So I always got to throw that plug in there. I went there from 2nd grade until I graduated from WBHS. So after my time leaving WBHS, I attended Wayne State University, collegiate scholarship to play football. I got my bachelor's of science there. Shortly after that, I went right there up the street to U of D Mercy to get my Master of Health Service Administration. And I'm currently about 6 months away from obtaining my doctorate in health administration, pending the approval of my dissertation. So fingers crossed, I'm working on that every weekend. So currently, just a little bit about my role and what I'm here to do. I work with Superintendent Watson, and of course, I have a district assigned nurse from Oakland County Health Division, who in conjunction with myself, we provide the recommendations and all the necessary protocols and guidelines for you all to be able to operate effectively, amidst COVID. So, examples of things that we've done just in our short term, Debbie and I have stopped by IA campus. We've done walkthroughs within the school, helped with setting up the quarantine room, what that looks like, what that process will look like, and just kind of being that reassuring guide. We're handling, the calls if possible, COVID cases come in and stuff like that, and next steps and everything like that. So really, myself and my team, albeit small, it's just myself and one of our OCHD nurses, but we will have 2 very shortly here. Like I said, we're just here to support the entire district as we return to in-person learning safely. I'm not sure how many of you all heard the board study session last week, but there's an overwhelming amount of support and push to go back, 5 days a week. So we're actively looking at ways that we can, do that as safely as possible. No timeline on that or anything like that, but just, we're continuing to analyze the data and the evidence and, just go from there. So that's, in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanford. We are so grateful to have you as part of our team, helping to keep us safe, helping to keep us informed. Did anyone have any quick questions for Mr. Sanford before he signs off and goes to his next meeting? Okay, the chat is empty. Again, Mr. Sanford, thank you for being a part of our IA community. We look forward to meeting you one day and seeing you in our building.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all for having me again. Have a wonderful rest of your meeting.
Thank you so much. Okay, real quick, let's do a little quick updates. We had our Cultivating Mental Health in the era of COVID-19. We also have that recording available on our website and on our Facebook page. Do us a favor and do the program evaluation. That is right here on the slide. We take that information and it helps us to build our next program. The next series, parent series and kids series that we have for the community is Conversations with Children About Race. That's on November 10th at 7. The speakers for that will be Margaret Schultz. She is our health and wellness coordinator, and Dr. Jay Marks from Oakland ISD. Don't forget, we have one more week. It was a beautiful day for yoga today. We have one more week to sign up for yoga outside with Up Dog Yoga. That is a free-for-all. Anyone can join us. It's outside and it is beautiful. Please consider joining us for fall cleanup on 10/25. We're looking for volunteers. Also, we have parent-teacher conferences. Don't forget to sign up for that. And we have our mini IA Olympics. We kicked it off last week with a chalk mural contest, and we're keeping score. So this is kind of the PTIA's attempt to keep the kids safe, engaged, active outside, and a little bit of some normal. So far, so good. They really seem to be enjoying it. There's a lot of laughs and a lot of giggles going on. And, you know, they're really being respectful about wearing their masks and being really smart about it. So I think it's a win-win overall. Thank you, Sue Tang, Lisa Lau, and all the parent volunteers that have thrown their hat in the ring. And please consider signing up to be a chaperone for this Friday. We're doing the egg toss and a couple other fun relays. Kids really seem to like that. It's a good way to meet parents, a good way to get involved in your school community, and a great way to get to know our awesome kids. Other updates for the PTIA, we have an awesome parent mentoring program. Since this is a commuter school, there's a lot of new faces, a lot of new programs that you're not familiar with. This kind of all new culture here. So with that, we have Janet Rabin and Tracy Burrows, who are the co-chairs for this committee. It's just fantastic. If you have a question, you can go to, they have tips and tricks to help you succeed at the IA as a parent and a student. So please consider signing up to be a mentor, or if you're a freshman, a mentee. Also, we have Holly and Lisa Nardone and Holly Drimby, who are awesome co-chairs for teacher appreciation. And I'm really grateful. They have been very innovative about how to pay attention to staff and be respectful and tell them how much we care. The staff has done an amazing job with our transition to online learning. And so they came up with an idea that every teacher will get a basket of fall goodies. Those goodies includes fresh apples, fresh pumpkins, candy apples, pretzels, pumpkins, pears, raspberries. And we kind of do a drop off and go. They come through the drive-through, we drop them in their trunk, and they keep it moving. So really creative thinking going on, great teamwork with our IA community, and hopefully our teachers will feel very much loved and appreciated. Also, if you haven't joined the PTIA, please do so. I want to let you guys know I'm so grateful and proud. We have given out already, I don't mean to ruin it for you, Rania, but we've given out $19,000 in teacher grants so far. And that is because we have such a committed parent community that is our generous donors. And every time you sign up to be a member, that money goes towards direct service for our teachers, our staff, and needed items. We are 501c3, so please keep that into consideration. What else am I missing here? I think with that, I'll hand it over to Dawn.
Hello. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Anybody? All right. And can you see what I've got on my
Yes.
screen? Okay, very good.
Yes.
I got some complaints that the last spreadsheet that was shared was too small. So hopefully this fills your screens. And my name is Dawn Jensen, and I am the PTIA treasurer. I have a junior and a senior at IA, and my name on here really isn't Riley. That's my daughter, and I'm using her Zoom account. So I just wanted to go through the spreadsheet that we have. Current as of totals as of yesterday, the PTIA membership dues, we have taken in $7,194.63, which we have, even in this hard times, we have exceeded our budget of what we expected to come in membership dues. We are very thankful that we used PayPal because the majority of them were PayPal payments. We received some through the Bloomfield account, and we received 39 of them through people writing checks. But I wanted to mention that we currently still have 19 people who have filled out our Google form, but have not yet submitted a check to us. So if you committed to give us money, please send in the check. You can send it in you can send it in with your children. We have a brand new blue PTIA box that's outside the main office. They can deposit it in, or if you wish, you can send it through the school. I have been told, and I have not yet I've not yet confirmed it, that the Bloomfield check account is no longer working. That the sending charges through the Bloomfield Community Ed. We also have the ability to pay by PayPal, and we can send you that link for anybody who asks us. If you have any questions on this, you can send it to ptiaokma@gmail.com. We also have donations. Our donations we are doing very well with our donations this year. We've received a generous donation from a company for $10,000, and half of which was to go to the school benefactors fund, which is a beneficiary fund for students in need and scholarships for students that cannot afford travel enrichments. And the other half was earmarked to go to teacher grants, specifically laptops. So this accounts for that $5,000 that we kept, and I've already forwarded the other $5,000 to the school. So thank you, generous donor. We appreciate you. The passive program income, that is the Amazon Smile accounts and Kroger accounts. We've taken $157. Tile project sales, we had a random check come in for $50. Let me go down here to disbursements. These are all the disbursements we've had. I'm awaiting quite a few more bills as of now. I'm awaiting things. We have teacher grants that are going out, but I've not yet seen the bills hit our accounts. But as of the end, we are sitting right now in our account. We have current checks that have not yet cleared of $5,925, but we have in all of our accounts, Bloomfield, PayPal, PNC accounts, $59,691. So does anybody have any questions on this?
No.
Okay, very good. Then I'm going to turn it over to Rania, who's going to talk about teacher grants.
All right, thank you so much, Dawn. Sorry, my name says Lana Obid. That's also my daughter's name, but my name is Rania. For those of you that attended the last PTIA meeting, we had the first round of grants, teacher grants that we approved. And the total for the first round of grants was a little over 17,000, which you can see at the bottom here. The deadline for the second round of grants is really December 1st, but we started to see requests come in from teachers for some technology items, and we felt that there was kind of a bit of urgency where teachers really were requesting these items that they wanted to use in the classrooms with the students, especially with the remote learning. So we decided to go ahead and approve these items right now and not wait until December 1st. But you will see, even with these items approved, we do have some money left over, so we will continue to approve teacher grants until December 1st, hopefully. So the four items that we have listed here, the four requests, the first one is from Mr. Imicus in the physics department. He teaches in 3 classrooms, and only one of those classrooms has an Elmo projector. So the request is for 2 more Elmos in the 2 remaining classrooms. for a total of $1,158. Ms. Fisher in the math physics department, she was requesting an Apple Pencil to help her with writing on the iPad for $124. Also, Ms. Fisher was requesting some stylus for the students so that they also have something to write with. She felt that that would make it easier for the students. And the last request came from the math department, Ms. Casper and Ms. Hessler. Again, more technology items that they'd like to use in the classrooms. The total for all of these items is $1,972. The PTIA board met and approved these items. But I know that I think we need to do a vote as well, right, Angel? We're going to have to ask for a motion in just a second. But you'll see if even if tonight we approve these 4 items, we will still have a little over $4,000 remaining for teacher grants. And we expect to have more requests come in before December 1st. And I do want to point out, you know, we're only able to do this through donations. So please continue to become a PTIA member if you haven't done so already. Please support with donations. We want you to see where the money is going. It's going back directly to support students. And we're happy to share this with you. And Angel, do you want to go ahead and ask for a motion? I don't know if I think you should do that.
Could we please have a motion to approve the budget as presented and the spending for the teacher grants?
I'll make a motion.
I can second it.
Okay. Rania approved. All those in favor? Hands up. Anybody opposed? Great, fantastic.
Point out, I should also mention that the PTIA makes it very clear that these items are property of the PTIA Okma. So these are not purchases for the teachers. They don't own these items. These are items that stay on the campus.
Fantastic. Again, I'd like to take a moment to thank Rania for her hard work with teacher grants. She is the chair. She's done a fantastic job. And Steve Bruton, again, all good things from Google come from Steve. He has really put our nonprofit this year, made it digital, made it accessible, really made it organized. So thank you again. I'm so grateful to be a part of this team. So at this point in time, I'd like to move it over to, is it Miss Juco? She's going to be doing our IB lesson.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Let's see. Sorry, just a second here. All right, well, thank you so much for having me. As it was mentioned, I'm Mrs. Juco, and I'm the IB coordinator at all 3 campuses of the IA. And I was told that we were looking for kind of a rundown of what the DP program is at the International Academy. So I understand that you may have students who are freshmen and are just starting out, or even all the way up to seniors who have already been through some of these topics. But I think it's always helpful to have a refresher of what all the acronyms mean, and just kind of what's going on when your students are talking about all this IB lingo that sounds like a foreign language. So to start out, if you look at this diagram here, this is what we refer to as the IB wheel. And it's a way for students to kind of see, I'm trying to move my little people over, sorry. It's a way for students to see what the diploma program is made of. And I like that it's represented through a circle, because that really shows that everything we do is connected, and it's supposed to result in a very well-rounded whole student. And so you'll notice this is for 11th and 12th graders. So in the 9th and 10th grade, we have the MYP program, which is called the Middle Years Program. And that's a little bit different, but has many of the same elements. And so this is just about the 11th and 12th grade program, or the diploma program. So often your students will say that their classes got a lot harder. They'll have a lot more serious talk going on because of the assessments that come up in the diploma program. And I'm going to go through some of those things tonight. So basically your students are involved in 6 different courses as part of the diploma program. And you can see those as going around that outside edge of the wheel there. And so they take 1 class in language and literature, which is their lit class. You'll hear them talk about various texts that they've read, works in translation, doing individual oral assessments, and all of those have to do with their literature class. We then have individuals and societies, which is their history course. We have mathematics. We have the arts. So some students are taking a visual arts class or a music class, but some of our other students have chosen to take a second course in a repeat of one of the others. So often our students will take a second science is a very popular choice. There are also some other options that students can take there. Some students take an additional language as well. And so those are the other 2, obviously on the rest of the wheel is the language acquisition course and then our sciences. So students will take each of those 6 courses there, and they take them at either an HL or an SL level. And so basically what that means, those stand for higher level and standard level. And in the diploma program, the IB asks them to select 3 courses at that higher level and 3 at standard level. So higher level courses are typically what the college credit is given to. So those are typically a little bit more difficult exams. They have some higher expectations and they have additional hours of study. So in order to qualify to be a higher level course, it has to contain 240 hours of study. So most of our courses here at the International Academy are taught at that higher level so that students are getting that number of hours even if they're choosing to take the course at a standard level. But this is why we often talk to students about attendance being so important, because if say a student had first period lit class and then they were consistently missing that class for dentist appointments that they always scheduled that day, or they were coming in late all the time, and if they weren't meeting that 240 hours of study, then they wouldn't be eligible to take that at the higher level. And sometimes that can affect student choice. So we want to make sure that our students are definitely attending all of their classes and meeting that 240 hours of study. For a standard leveled course, they only need 150 hours of study, but obviously our students are well exceeding that since our courses are taught in a 2-year sequence. And our students take them together in a cohort in most of the classes. So there are some, like our environmental science class is SL only, as well as our math courses are divided up into different sections of HL and SL. But for our other subjects, like most of our sciences and language courses, they're all taught to that higher level. And then students choose in the fall of their senior year which courses they want to test in HL or SL. So typically we tell our students to think about what courses they're feeling the strongest in, which courses they feel like they have to study the least amount for tests and exams. And those seem like the top choices for that HL exam. So I put up there that the content doesn't necessarily differ on those exams, but it's the higher level of thinking. So the questions ask them to process the information more deeply. There's usually a 3rd exam paper instead of just 2 exam papers like in the SL course exams. And it really just makes students think more in depth about the course content. So I mentioned assessment, and of course we're all familiar with the IB exams, which happen in May of senior year. And we refer to those as external exams, with the reason being that those are graded by external examiners who are hired by the IB organization. So it's kind of a fascinating system, but when students complete their exams in May, they sit in our ISC, they handwrite the exams, and they're actually physically mailed to places around the world where different IB examiners are grading these papers. And it's really interesting in that, you know, these people are trained specifically as subject area experts, and they get all these papers anonymously and are grading our students against students taking this exam from other parts of the world. And those are spontaneous questions, of course, and those are timed exams that they're responding to in the moment. There's also a few other external assessments. Visual arts has an external piece, as well as the literature class has a longer essay that they send out to be externally assessed as well. But the other part of students' IB scores comes from internal assessments. And this is kind of a confusing concept to parents and sometimes our newer teachers and students. So internal assessments are IB requirements. So the IB lays out what these will look like in each course. And it's a very specific assignment with a detailed rubric and expectations that the teacher must fulfill within the class. And the teacher helps the student through the process. So sometimes these will take place in the second half of junior year, and they continue all the way through senior year. And we space them out strategically in our school calendar so that students aren't getting slammed with these all at once, because it is really a long-term project in each course. So students are really thinking as practitioners in each subject area, and they're researching like a historian, or they're speaking orally in the foreign language that they're studying. And the teachers support them through this process in their class and really help them create this polished work. And then these are graded in-house internally by our IA teachers, but that grading is moderated by the IB organization. So the way that the process works is that the teachers submit their scores of how the students are graded based on the rubric and based on their training. And then the IB requests that we send samples of our work from students in the low range, the middle range, and the high range. And they compare it against teachers from other places around the world who have submitted similar work, and just make sure that our grading is on par with what they expect. So both of those assessments work together to create the student's score within that subject. So students can score anywhere from a 1 to 7, obviously 7 being the best score in each of their subject areas of their 6 subjects. So going back to that circular diagram, in the center, well, it's not really the center, but the third band in there, you'll see theory of knowledge, extended essay, and then creativity, action, and service. And you'll often hear these called TOK, EE, and CAS. And these make up what we call the IB core. And so each of these are parts of the IB curriculum that are required to get an IB diploma, but they're a little bit different than the regular coursework that students go through in the 6 subject areas. So TOK is a course that our students take. If you have a junior or a senior, I'm sure you've heard them talk about their theory of knowledge course. And that's, it's like a philosophy course that students take. They learn about different areas of knowledge and the concept of how people in different cultures learn different information, why we believe the things that we do, how to sort of debate and argue your beliefs in a really eloquent manner. And so our students work on that TOK course where they have a prescribed title that they write out, which is an answer to a sort of philosophical question that they work towards. And then they do a presentation of some material for the class. And that grade is an internal assessment, and that is graded by their TOK teachers. But as I mentioned, it's moderated out. And so TOK is a little bit different since they don't have a final exam and it's part of the core. It's not graded on the 1 through 7 scale, but it's graded on an A through E scale. And then there's a matrix that combines that score with the extended essay, and students can earn anywhere from 0 to 4 bonus points on their IB diploma. So after you've added up all those 6 subject scores, this can add up after that to give them a few bonus points towards earning those top scores for the IB diploma. And that EE, the extended essay that I mentioned, is completed during the second half of junior year into the first semester of senior year. And what that is it's a 4,000 word examination in a subject area of the student's choosing. So they look at their 6 subjects and they think about maybe something that they've learned about in class, but they haven't gone into depth with, or something that really captured their interest and they'd like to explore the area a little bit further. So a lot of our students do extended essays in literature, and they pick a novel from an author that they might be interested in. And they'll talk about the different literary devices that occur in that novel, or they might compare it to a second novel or a different movie. A lot of our students choose science extended essays as well. where they might go through an experiment or talk through some data points. And each subject has really specific criteria. And so each student is given an EE supervisor, which is a teacher at our school. And so each of our teachers end up with about 4 or 5 students that they work with individually to help them through the process. And they read over that rough draft of their extended essay and really help them create this piece of writing that they can add to the world that they're really proud of by the end. And that extended essay is graded externally by examiners. And so we upload that into a computerized system, and those are graded from those IB examiners around the world. And as I mentioned, that's graded on an A to E scale. And then we have CAS. So this is the way of IB's world of acknowledging that their curriculum is difficult and that they don't want IB students to grow up just being book smart. They recognize that in the business world and even at the college level, people are looking for adults who have interests in life and are willing to take part in their community and help build that community. And so they ask students to engage in 18 experiences that they reflect on throughout their junior and senior year that fit into one of those 3 categories: creativity, activity, or service. And so, you know, when we first introduce CAS to juniors, they sometimes kind of stumble upon this idea that this seems like a lot of extra work. But what I often tell students is it's things that they're typically already doing, but they just have to stretch themselves a little bit further. So maybe they've been enjoying just dabbling in art, or they took art in middle school but didn't have room for it in their high school schedule. So they could try doing some sort of a craft that they saw on Pinterest, or even coloring in a coloring book and writing about a reflection of how that made them feel, and maybe how it brought their stress level down, or it helped them remember how much they enjoy producing a product. It's kind of a similar idea for activity. Like some of our students take part in organized sports teams. So they play hockey, and then they write up a reflection about how, you know, a really difficult breakaway play occurred at their game. Or many of our students are runners, and they'll write about the mental challenge of long distance running or the physical challenge of sprinting, and how those activities are helping them grow as people as well. And then of course, service is their opportunity to take part in their community. And, you know, our typical go-to for students is often volunteering at soup kitchens or homeless shelters, but service can be even as simple as shoveling snow for your neighbor or raking leaves. I know they're all falling down in my neighborhood right now. And it's just helping out the people around you, and even tutoring a friend counts as service. And that really sparks ideas for students' CAS projects that they complete during their senior year. And typically that's a collaborative experience where a group of seniors will work together and come up with a way that they can aid their community. And these experiences through CAS and TOK and EE, these are the things that really set our students apart when they're writing their college application essays and participating in those interview panels. Because these are things that students in a typical high school environment, they may be getting the AP classes that are earning the college credit, but these aims of the IB really help them grow into people who have, you know, more interesting things to talk about than just school. It really helps them develop personalities of their own and kind of interests that will extend beyond just what they're learning in the classroom. So I mentioned as far as earning the IB diploma, right? So I said that the students are taking 6 subjects. They're each graded on a scale of 1 through 7, with 7 being the best score. EE and TOK are graded on that A through E scale. And then for CAS, they have to pass the requirements. So they have to complete those reflections and participate in a CAS project, but that doesn't earn a point within their IB diploma. It's more of a pass-fail concept there. So we take the points from that IB matrix on EE and TOK, and then all of their 6 subject area assessments. And in order to earn an IB diploma, students have to earn 24 points total, and 12 or more of those points have to come from their HL courses. So you'll remember me, hopefully, saying that they chose 3 courses in the fall of their senior year that they decided to test in an HL. And so they have to get 12 points. in that if they get 11 points, but 24 points total, it's not enough. So students have to really think carefully about what they're choosing in their HL courses as far as subjects that are their strengths and that they know they can score well on those exams. Another question that often comes up, as I mentioned, you know, IB courses and AP courses are similar in that they both earn college credit, but they are different. And so I know a lot of parents will say, my friend's kids are in AP courses and they keep asking me what's the difference. So here's your little cheat sheet of what you can tell them. AP courses are 1 year. The students show up, they learn the content within a course at their high school, and then they take one cumulative exam at the end of the year. So it's just one time they sit down for a paper. It may be multiple choice, it may be an essay, but it's just that one shot. And those AP courses can be taken individually. So that means, you know, if I'm taking 7 other courses and then I just want to take one AP Lit course because literature is my strength, I can do that. Whereas IB courses, as you know, they're the 2-year continuum. So our students take them throughout both junior and senior year and dive more deeply into the content of whatever subject areas that they choose. And then those are made up of both internal and external assessments. So not only are they taking that exam at the end, but the grade is also counting that internal assessment that they did, which is a more polished work over a longer period of time using teacher feedback. In an AP course, students could sign up to take the AP exam even if they hadn't taken the course, but that is not true for an IB exam. So part of the fidelity of the IB program is that students have to participate in that 2-year course within an IB program. And then much like the AP courses earn college credit, students can earn college credit for the courses that they choose to take at the HL level. And then the IB program is different than AP in that you can't just choose, you know, the 1 or 2 courses, but we have that option for the full diploma. And so all of our seniors are working towards the idea of earning that full diploma where it shows that not only have they tested well in each of those 6 subjects, but they also completed the requirements of EE, theory of knowledge, and CAS, really showing that they're a well-rounded scholar in every sense. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here. And then if you have questions, you can shout them out or type them in the chat. I know that's a lot. And the IB program is a lot of acronyms. So I'm happy to repeat or re-explain anything that I might have gone through too quickly.
One thing I'm going to jump in, Mrs. Juco, is what's really powerful, and we see this often with our students, is and this is, I'm mentioning this to the parents because I think this is a great spot for the parents to guide the students, is when you look at that core of extended essay and theory of knowledge and CAS, you know, oftentimes, so that's a great time to ask your student, what are you passionate about? What are you really interested in? Because I think what we're seeing more and more is that students connect those dots to say, you know, what I'm writing about in my extended essay can be 100% connected to what I'm doing for CAS. And it might even be connected to then what I'm writing about or experience or writing the experience I'm writing about in TOK. And so when you see the students kind of connect those passions and then almost like make that their junior and senior year project in both a very practical, but also academic way, that's what the IB is looking for. And I think it also makes it easier for the students because if they know like this is my topic, this is my passion, this is what I want to learn more about and become more of an expert in, you know, then it makes it a lot easier for them because they know what their extended essay is going to be about. They know what their CAS is going to be about. You know, it takes that sort of guessing game out of it.
That's a great point. I think too, if students choose something that they're passionate about to write their EE on or for their CAS requirements, I mean, it just makes it seem like a lot less work. You know, if it's something that they're interested in reading and writing about, it takes a lot of the pressure off, I think. I saw some good questions coming into the chat. So are there changes to the requirements due to COVID? So yes, you probably heard last year, it was the first year that they ever canceled IB exams. And so it really kind of threw us for a loop there. And what they ended up doing, which was a really nice advantage for IB students, is they took the scores from their internal assessments and just tossed out the exams altogether. And that went really well for our students. It was nice that they didn't have to worry about studying for exams at the end of a pandemic. And last year we ended up with, I think we were at 93% by the time all of our results came in. 93% of our students earned that full IB diploma, which is really great. We were really proud of that score and pleased with that result. This year, they have already made adjustments to the exams. So we're all, of course, hoping that, by May, things are going to be just perfect for us and everything will go as planned. But the IB has acknowledged that because many of our students and students around the world had a different learning experience in the spring and even going into this fall with a lot of schools doing hybrid learning, they've taken out a lot of the exam papers. So typically in an HL exam, there would be 3 papers that students would sit for, meaning like 3 different test sections. So the IB has taken out in almost every subject one of those papers to leave them with only 2. And so in a lot of cases, the SL subjects then would only have the 1 paper for them to sit for. So it's nice that students still have that internal assessment that the teachers are giving them support on and they're completing throughout the year. And then they'll have the sort of shortened exams at the end. So I think that's a great scenario for our students. Someone asked about CAS. They're allowing students to complete things without the collaboration step on the CAS project. And they're also being a little bit more lenient as far as the requirements of what CAS projects can be approved. So Ms. Bellotti has been working with our students in our current situation to help them get their CAS projects approved if you have a current senior. And she's given them some more specific info on that. But the nice thing is that, they're not expecting anything unrealistic like our students, places that might be unsafe in the community or needing to work together if that's something that students aren't comfortable with at this time. Ms. Jensen asked if a student takes 4 HL exams, what are the points requirements? So that is an option. And if students take 4 HLs and 2 SLs instead of 3 and 3, when the IB calculates out the diploma points, they drop the lowest score to an SL in the calculations. So they would take whatever the 3 highest are, and they're still expected to get the 12 points from their 3 highest HL exams. But they would be eligible then to earn college credit in all 4 of those HL classes if the points they scored in those assessments was high enough that the colleges would accept them. So I'm seeing, do students have this presentation on IB info? So I saw that we were recording this presentation so they could rewatch this. I also have a screencastify that was sent out to our current seniors in the spring that I would be happy to send out to anyone else who might be interested in it as well. I have been visiting students in their classes, and our current seniors are all getting ready to register for their IB exam. So I know that they know the drill, but our current juniors are probably ready for their refresher as well. Now you guys can teach them about it, right?
So there was one question about our what percentage of people get the IB diploma. So consistently over 90% of IA students earn the IB diploma. The global average for that is in the 70s. So the IA consistently does better than the world average in the number of students that achieve the IB diploma in the end. I think then people always ask, like, so what's the why there? Why does the IA, always achieve so well on IB diploma? So, and I think that the big part of that is there's a real fidelity to the IB programs, from day one. When, for better or worse, when the 9th graders walk in, the teachers are asking, okay, what do I need to do with these students over a 4-year continuum to take them from where they are as these young little 9th graders to being able to earn that IB diploma, at the end of senior year. And so, often folks ask me, why don't we have a class that's computer programming? Why don't we have like all these other ancillary classes that you normally find in a high school? And the answer goes back to that wheel. Well, we're doing the 6 subjects. I often use the term that we're a lean, mean IB machine. I guess I should take the mean part out of that. I actually think we're a pretty friendly place, but it is this focus that, you know, and because we're so large, I mean, right now across the 3 campuses, we have over 350 students every single year who are attaining that IB diploma. And so you're also getting those economies of scale with those resources, you know, as we move through that.
Yeah, I think it's really built into our school culture too. You know, like if there's students who attended a larger high school and were taking IB courses, it's not the same type of experience as our students, where when you talk about your history internal, every single one of your friends is doing their history internal and they know what you're talking about. They know when it's due. You know, our kids make memes about EE being, you know, an experience that they don't enjoy all the time. And they're just really kind of going through it together. So it's helpful to have that common experience, the common language, because like Dr. Smith said, it's what we do and it's all we do. And so I think it just really helps us do it to our best ability.
You know, I see one question in there. I'm going to kind of use that to also address one of my other bullet points that I wanted to talk about tonight. So are there things that we can do as 9th grade parents that we might want to think about or encourage now in order to prepare during the MYP year? So I think it's really important to emphasize with the students, you know, that this is a 4-year game that they've entered into. And so, you know, why is it important to do well in Spanish, French, and German when you're in 9th grade? Well, because you're going to keep doing Spanish, French, and German for all 4 years. You're going to need those foundational skills as you go through the entire program. You're going to need those foundational skills in math as you go through the entire program. So this, you know, the students really have to understand that this is not get through this class this year. This is not about earning a grade in this class this year. This is really about building those developmental skills as they go along. And so I'm going to kind of use that to segue a little bit. And, you know, one of our concerns as a staff right now, you know, is with online learning, I'll be frank, it's very hard to hold students academically accountable. On Canvas, the teachers have been figuring out how to use the Canvas quizzes, which is nice because you can make some pretty normal looking assessments on Canvas, and, you know, and it grades it and it gives us great feedback immediately. You know, but what the teachers are also able to see is that the kids are clicking off the tab 30 times during the time that they take the quiz, which tells us that the kids are probably looking up answers or that they're just totally distracted. And, you know, then the teachers are asking Mrs. Juco and I and Miss Gibson this week, well, what do we do about that? Well, you know, we could all spend 120 hours trying to figure out exactly what happened on every single quiz this week. And I don't think anyone would say that was the best use of anyone's time. And you know, so the message that we need to give to the kids for this school year is, look, we know you can look up the answers to your biology quiz. That's a normal 14-year-old, 15-year-old reaction to when you're taking an online quiz. Like no one's second guessing that. But the problem is that I think, as everyone knows, this is going to be a long haul, and you can't give up a year of high school to essentially looking up all the answers on all your quizzes and not really learning things for understanding or learning things for that long-term retention. You know, because, you know, while this is long-term, eventually it will end. And, you know, there's going to be an expectation that content was covered. So I think that's a really important message for parents and guardians to go over with their kids this year is, look, we know in a lot of your classes, earning an A is going to be easier than it was a year ago. But you also really need to be thinking long-term about that. And the parents have to reinforce that, because if you go back to your presentation, I think from 2 weeks ago with the psychologist, you know, part of what they talked about is teenagers do not have the ability, or at least most of them don't. They don't have a 12-month or 24-month time horizon. They don't have the ability to think that way. And so, you know, so they need their parents to step in, and say, hey, it's really important that you do French or German or Spanish this year the right way, because there's no way that you can learn double the material next year.
I think kind of by that same token, encouraging your students, like if they are feeling like a class is difficult, helping them figure out how to get National Honor Society tutoring or going to math lab, you know, finding the different ways that we offer where students can get help. I think going to those in some of the earlier grades when the struggle might not be that big, kind of lets them see that it's not so intimidating and it's something that they're then comfortable to go to if problems become greater or if there's something that they feel like they really are, struggling with. So I know we have a lot of really awesome online opportunities right now that are going on with tutoring. And then of course, as students are re-entering the buildings and getting more familiar, we have in-person options too. So encourage your students to take advantage of those.
I see Steve's question about how many IB students are with Bloomfield Hills High School. That's a hard one for us to answer because there's a lot of kids at Bloomfield Hills High School, and I think this is true for most high schools that have an IB program. Students that might just take 1 or 2 or 3 diploma program courses. So they're technically part of that program, but they're approaching it from what's called the certificate perspective, and there's not the same emphasis on earning the full diploma. So I can tell you, in most public high schools, in the States, the number of students who are actually earning the full diploma is way below what's achieved at the International Academy. And that's because we have that commitment that every student who begins their senior year is going to attempt to get the full diploma.
I see the question about, can NHS tutoring count as CAS or is it double dipping? It can count, with just the idea that CAS is more about the reflection of how these experiences that students are having. It's about them reflecting on what they're learning from it, what they're gaining from it, and how it's helping them grow. So they're not necessarily looking for students to have entirely new experiences, but it's more about processing what they're doing and how it's helping them develop into a responsible adult in the world. Ooh, great question about how are IB teachers different than other high school teachers. I can speak to the fact that I taught for 7 years at a traditional high school before coming to the IA. And I was really impressed when I started at the IA just by the dedication of the teachers and how knowledgeable they were in not only their subject area, but in the IB program in general. I felt like teaching in a traditional high school, more often the teachers were kind of separated to their own hallways. And I knew a lot about what was going on in the English department of my school, but I didn't know much about what the other teachers were doing or how it fit into that student's coursework as a whole. But I think that's something that's really cool about the IB and the IA, that teachers know a lot more about what's happening in these students' other classes, and they'll try to bring that material in to what they're studying about. I know in our 9th and 10th grade courses, our teachers do these interdisciplinary units where, if they're learning about something in history, our lit teachers will teach a book that takes place in that time period or in that location. And it's really neat to see the teachers really collaborating in a different way than I think students get in a more traditional high school environment.
I think that collaborative piece is huge too, because every teacher wants their students to do well in their discipline, but at the IA and an IB school, you have to be really aware though of the requirements that the other classes have on the students. So for example, when I taught advanced placement history, that was my focus. My kids wanted to do well in advanced placement history. I wanted them to do well. And I never once thought about their requirements for AP math or AP biology, right? That was somebody else's problem. You really can't do that in an IB program because that's not what's best for the students. So the disciplines, the departments, they really have to work together to say, when are we going to emphasize history? When are we going to emphasize the sciences? When are we going to emphasize math? I mean, essentially folks have to take turns. And they have to realize that there's a finite amount of time in the week for students. And so that really, that coordination among the teachers just makes it a very different school environment, because you really can't sit in your own silo and not acknowledge what the requirements that are there for the other disciplines.
Mrs. Lau put more eyes on the student, and I think that's a cool thing about the IA too. It's just that our population, since it is smaller, we're able to have meetings where all of the 9th grade teachers can sit together in a room and all of the 10th grade teachers can sit together in a different room. And talk about, you know, areas where some certain students might be struggling? Or have you noticed that our students just don't seem to know how to do whatever skill, and they can kind of work together to not only look for students who might be getting left behind or getting sort of passed over, but talk about ways that they can just work together to improve students' study habits and, you know, other ways of learning as well.
I think that accountability that the IB creates as well, you know, that's one of the things right now in the middle of this pandemic. I'll be honest, it's really hard for the teachers, right? Because I know, and I'm sure everyone else has heard this in their own small communities or in your own friend groups, that, you know, people, right? This is kind of our tagline. You want to give people grace. We want to give everyone, you know, an extra dose of patience, and things like that. But, you know, it's really, it's really hard to tell that to a diploma program chemistry teacher right now, who's trying to prepare kids for a diploma program chemistry exam at the end of this year, knowing that there have been impediments for the last 7 or 8 months. You know, so if you hear us saying like, hey, we need to maybe protect teacher time at certain points throughout the year and kind of keep the teachers focused on that direct task of teaching. You know, part of it is, you know, our teachers will say to us, hey, that's great that you're telling me to relax and that you're telling me to this weekend, you know, turn off my email for 24 hours and focus on something else. But I'm still really stressed about preparing the students for the exams at the end of the year. So the IB program, right, I guess is what I'm trying to say is it's a double-edged sword right now in this pandemic, because it certainly keeps the train moving, but we have to be cognizant of the fact that it's also an extra stressor for students and staff.
I mentioned in the presentation about how the IB moderates our grades. And I think that really helps our teachers not only understand their subject better and become really skilled at grading, but I think it does have them put a lot of pressure on themselves, because they know that their results are compared with students from other teachers in different places around the world. So it's a really great advantage because they become so knowledgeable about the different criteria, and they're, you know, making sure that our students are meeting and in a lot of cases beating that standard that's set. But I think our teachers and our staff as a whole is probably a lot like what many of your students are. And, you know, we're all little type A's and we like to be right and we want to be the best. And so like Dr. Smith said, you know, like I think that can be stressful, but I think it's what makes our teachers, you know, really good at what they do, for sure.
Yeah, you know, another thing to mention too, and this is a big point of pride, is that a lot of our teachers are intensely involved with the IB organization. So, you know, it really goes, you know, from the top down. So Miss Gibson has been on several small advisory boards to the IB organization, you know, where she's one of, you know, less than 20 individuals, you know, advising on the overall direction of the diploma program. Mrs. Hessler, one of our math teachers, she's once again been on a small committee of less than 12 individuals who helped design the current DP math program that was put into place last year. Mr. Deswan, one of our history teachers, just last week, he was on an 8-person committee that's designing adjustments to the diploma program, history program that'll take place in a couple of years. So on a very regular basis, we have staff that are both graders for the IB, but are also participating in the planning and design of the IB programs as they go through their 7-year design cycles.
I see the question, you know, what's something that we can do to advocate for our students within the program? And I think, you know, you're probably already doing it, but just keeping them talking about what they're doing at school. You know, students don't really want to share, right? Like teenagers don't like to tell their parents what's happening. But I think the more that you can get them talking about it and, you know, being familiar with the lingo, so you can ask them things like, have you thought about what you're going to do for your extended, or how's that history internal going? I think that really helps them then open up to you with things that may be difficult or things that they might need help navigating. But the more that you can be informed and keep that open conversation going at home, I think that's the best way, because then they can tell you what kind of support they might need.
Great. It looks like our questions are kind of slowing down. We'll definitely keep the chat open. Dr. Smith, I just realized I forgot to put principal's report. Do you have any really, really quick updates that you might want to announce before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I think we've already covered a couple of them, but we do have parent-teacher conferences at the end of the month. I guess my overall report is that October is really busy. We have the parent-teacher conferences on the 28th and the 29th, which will all be over Zoom. I took a look at the sign up today, and over 500 families have already done some type of sign up. So in typical IA style, people are right on time and jumped right on it. Tomorrow, the seniors have the SAT. And then our other grades will be taking the PSAT a little bit later in the month. That this is the SAT that our seniors didn't get to take in the spring. So tomorrow is a big day for them, getting that taken care of. And then, I guess one more just quick thing that I wanted to mention this evening. So next week, I know this seems like a long way away, but next week, our class of 2025 applications will go live. So we've started getting a lot of phone calls in the office this week about when those will be available. So if you have 8th grade families in your neighborhood or in your social network, and they might be interested in the International Academy, probably next week you can direct them to our website and they can fill out that application and get started on that process. I know, like I said, I know that seems like a long way away, but it won't be long before the districts are doing their lotteries and we're lining up our new group. So that process will start next week.
Dr. Smith will be happy to promote that on our website and our Facebook page, so be sure to slip it our way. Hey, could we put up the last slide by chance? Anyone? So our next, any other questions? I don't see any more coming in. I certainly appreciate, I love this IB presentation. I always feel smarter and like a better parent every time I hear it, so thank you so much. And I kind of understand all the lingo of you educators. Can you guys see that screen? Our next PTIA meeting is November 17th. Please join us for then. Stay connected to us with our website, our Facebook. Feel free to shoot us a Gmail at our Gmail account. Also, don't forget we are 501c3 and we do use Amazon Smile and Kroger. You can see that information on the screen as well. Again, I'm so grateful for our IA community. We have really transitioned into online learning and hybrid learning like a champ, from the $19,000 donation to our staff having great communication and collaboration and partnership with community members and our families. And thanks, guys. Consider being a part of our committee or volunteering, and we appreciate you. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you, Angel.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording and then I will figure out how to send it to you.